Hello, everybody, and welcome to Automate to Elevate, where today we're going to be sharing the story of two organizations on their adoption of test automation technology and how we were able to support them with Keysight's Eggplant product and MCANTA's implementation services. This is going to be a lot about their journey and how they started in automation and what the benefits they've seen in throughout their organization. So with that, my name is Patrick Grant. I'm the owner and CEO of MCANTA. We've been a solution partner with Keysight for 5 years. And I'd like to introduce Craig from the University of Wisconsin Foundation.
Yes, Craig Hughes. I'm the applications manager at the University of Wisconsin Foundation and Alumni Association. We are the fundraising arm of the University of Wisconsin. We have approximately 350 people. In our company, I have 10 people in my group, 4 developers, 2 BAs, a change manager, a couple of interns, and currently have a couple of consultants. We are actually doing a big migration now from some legacy applications over to a couple of web-based applications, Salesforce and Oracle Financials. And in addition, still have a campus-facing website that we wrote in .NET. We will talk in a bit about our journey with Eggplant. But for right now, I'm going to throw it to one of my lead developers who helped getting Eggplant started, Chelsea Griffith.
Hi, I'm Chelsea. I was the developer from the foundation to work with Patrick to do the initial implementation of Eggplant, which we started just under 3 years ago. And we've been building out tests against all of our different applications since. So continue to learn about the possibilities and capabilities of the tools since then. And then a little over a year ago, our team brought on Mkami, who I will kick it to next, and have been working with her as a mentor.
Hi, my name is Mkami. I'm currently the Eggplant developer intern working with WFFA, and I've been working with Eggplant for over a year now.
Thanks, Mkami, Chelsea, and Craig. And from the University of Chicago, we've got Hasnain. Hasnain, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me, Patrick. My name is Hasnain Mohammad. I'm from University of Chicago and just got hired nearly a year ago. And in that 1 year, the tasks which have been assigned to me was to build a QA organization, at least start with that, and then moving forward, expand it. So 2 projects, huge projects, one of them Salesforce Phoenix project. We successfully did that. Thank you, Patrick, for helping us out do that. And then moving on, the next phase of the journey is Oracle Cloud implementations. We'll talk more about it as we discuss more.
Thanks, everybody, for joining. So really quickly, we're going to go through, you've heard about these 2 universities and these 2 structures. They've got both commercial off-the-shelf applications and they've got on-premise apps that were built internally. And they used Eggplant functional and digital automation intelligence to test these applications for themselves. We're also going to go through different approaches. We're going to talk about why they started the journey, as they implemented, and now as they're coming out of having successfully implemented automation in a few projects, how they're planning to grow that throughout the organization. So first off, I'll throw this out to we'll start off with Craig, and then Hasnain we'll hear about what happened at Chicago. So, a couple of years ago, Craig, I think it was 3 years ago for you, you were looking down the horizon. Why did you think that you needed to implement test automation at the foundation?
So I've been involved in applications for a long time, and it became apparent that test automation was becoming something that most companies were going to need to adopt as they evolve their applications, specifically maybe more towards the cloud applications, which had some constant upgrade paths and cycles. So we went out and Patrick and I had worked together in the state, and I knew Patrick was looking into a couple of different automation tools. And so we started to talk. And to me, it just made sense to kind of move forward with some kind of test automation, or at least looking into it. In the past, what I had always seen is the overhead was too high. The onboarding, would require developer resource, and who has time to put developers towards just working on test automation? If you have such a smaller shop as we have, like I said, I had 4 developers. So I got in touch with Patrick, and from then on, we worked in kind of a quick POC to evaluate the tool a bit, and from then we moved on with an initial project. So, but yes, it was pretty much, I could see that's where things were evolving to with test automation. I wanted to get out in front of it. So,
right. Thanks, Craig. Hasnain, I think you joined University of Chicago after the selection process. Is that right?
That is correct. So, yeah.
But you had, you've been in automation for a long time, and you've had a chance. What do you see as on the horizon for organizations thinking about implementing test automation?
Yeah, I mean, I have been with QA for like 16 years, and I have done some development and QA, mostly performance and automation. But what I think is with the introduction of cloud and adoption of that, let me give you an example. Like university, we have now Salesforce, we have Oracle Cloud ERP implementation, which I'm involved. Everything, it cannot be manually tested. Just one of the basic example is when you get quarterly updates, some of these companies, they say you have 2 weeks to test, otherwise this patch will go in. Mm-hmm. Now you don't have time to have 500 test cases being tested manually. It's not possible. You need a tool. And then further evolution of that automation tool into a much larger picture of CI/CD pipelines, building Docker containers, all that is a true automation, which I foresee, and that is where I would want University of Chicago to go to. But I truly believe that automation is an essential piece of software development lifecycle. Was not like yesteryears when it was an optional thing. I just think it should be part of it.
Right, thanks. I think that's what we've seen from our consulting engagements too, is organizations that were testing internally, they had 1 or 2 people that were subject matter experts. Now that they've gone out to a cloud environment where it's development plus it's a lot of configuration, they really needed something to drive that front end and validate not just small parts of the function, but the end-to-end business process. I think that's something that both of the University of Wisconsin, the foundation, and the University of Chicago, we focused on a lot, was end-to-end business process testing to make sure that the components work together. So, Chelsea, you had some early, I think you've been working since version 5.2, and you were with the foundation before we implemented. Would you want to talk about, what you saw in those early stages of adoption?
Yeah, so I came on after we decided we were going to use Eggplant as our automated testing tool. I think it was around November of 2020. Mm-hmm. And I think we, with your leadership, got quickly to work on an initial implementation, getting me going with training. And I think we had our first couple of tests built February 2021. I did have some development experience coming in, so that was, I feel like I was able to hit the ground running in that way. I know, Patrick, you helped us write our first test, and then kind of walk me through best practices, recommendations. And then that allowed me to get our first test set up for our in-house .NET application. And we've kind of just been building and learning from there.
Yeah, those are some fun early projects, and I think that was one of the things I noticed at the foundation is you picked a couple of business processes and you worked across your application stack. So you went, let's make sure it validated that it worked in across your application portfolio. Hasnain, I know moving on to the University of Chicago, we did a slightly different approach when we were implementing there. I'm wondering if you could share the Salesforce journey that we took on and how that went for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the Salesforce journey, we were having 40 testers who were constantly testing the existing scripts. So we had a test bed. We wanted someone to come in and automate. And that's how the journey started. We did not identify the scripts afterwards. It was, we knew the scripts. We wanted someone to come in, automate. We had to plant with us already. And that's where Patrick team came in, and I really appreciate the way it was done. In look at the security, look at the test data, to structure it as the base horizontal layer, and on top of it structure the entire automation, so that later on, if we add more things on top of it, it can easily be added rather than doing it later on. So that approach was just, it helped us build a very strong foundation for automation for Salesforce. But it all started with this. We had the scripts and we just wanted someone to come in and automate for us. And later on, we did some transitions and all, but that's how it all went.
Yeah, and I think you both shared that you know, both organizations, you had the vision to look at QA as a across your organization initiative. And that's one thing that we noticed really quickly was that it was how can we bring it best approach to quality assurance across applications, knowing that you were both going through a digital transformation. You had a lot of on-premise work, and you were in the process of moving some of that workload to the cloud and to commercial off-the-shelf apps such as Salesforce and NetSuite. But definitely from the implementation side, we noticed that it wasn't just let's automate this one application. It's how can we bring quality assurance to the entire organization, and how can we improve that experience and reduce the implementation time. Hasnain, actually, if I could stick with you a little bit, when you talked about 40, those 40 manual testers, I know we had it was about a 3-month implementation where we implemented 330 business processes.
That is correct.
Yeah,
that is correct.
All that we did. I just wondering if you could share, like, what was that like after you got those, that first battery of tests through when we ran through that end to end.
So every organization wants that when you start an implementation, there is this word which goes around, faster time to market. I think automating 300 plus scripts, nearly 400, and then doing it in 3 months, and in a way that we can just take that base structure and move it to the next giant, which we have Oracle Cloud and ERP implementation, which is going on. It was very, very good. 40 testers. The next part is the effort involved, the cost involved, immediate saving in 3 months. It just showed there is no other way to say it. 3 months, 400 tests automated, nearly 400 automated, 40 testers. Now their skills are now being utilized as different parts of the university, rather than dedicating testing for each and every patch, each and every update, change requests coming in. So it's a huge effort, huge win for everyone.
I'm going to add to that just because I know the number, when we did it. So we managed, I think you mentioned that 40 testers. I can't remember how long they took to do a round of testing. Do you remember what the lag time was on that?
It was in weeks.
Yeah. So I remember after we turned on or we got our first run, we were finished our regression test in 2 hours. So to me, that was just mine. It shows the power of automation. Just to go from those 40 testers over weeks to down to reporting completed in 2 hours and the investigations done. So I remember that was a huge kind of win. So Mkami, I know you are also involved. You've been involved for over a year now with Eggplant at the University of Wisconsin Foundation. Do you want to share what you've seen as you've implemented some new test cases? and how that's helped get that automation process ingrained into the organization.
Yeah, some benefits of the implementation. We have quite a few of them. One of them would be general system monitoring. So if something goes down, you can tell how long it's been down for. We have biweekly Windows update testing that we have automated as well. We use Eggplant tests to remove manual effort required to run and record comparative performance tests. We also validate tech fixes, also validating environment setups, and we also use Eggplant to monitor test segment timing for coding changes.
Right. And I remember, Craig, this might ring some bells. I remember when we first implemented, you were in the transition from a fully managed data center and you moved up to AWS. And I can remember you expanded. What I loved is you didn't just use it for testing and running in test runs. You're also starting to do some APM environments. And I think there was an issue with a load balancer that you were able to catch really quickly. I don't know if you can remember that.
Yeah, when we moved from hosting providers through a traditional hosting provider to AWS, and one of the things we really wanted to do is capture the performance. What would be the performance differences, and one of the things we definitely did manual tests. But with manual tests, you don't know if you're going to replicate them the same way. But with Eggplant tests, it allowed us to automate those tests and fine grain it quite a bit more and get it down to, yes, we were satisfied with the performance we were getting. We were satisfied with the numbers we were getting. So that was extremely helpful there. And the other thing, like Mkami said, we do use it for monitoring. I mean, there was a time where there was a change made to one of our load balancers. I think it might have gone in late at night, and we could see exactly the time that one of our tests started to fail, and we could go right back. It might have been a little bit more difficult to identify, what change caused that, how would it get fixed, and through our Eggplant test, we could go right in and see exactly when that test stopped running, and it isolated the problem. So, pretty, like I said, we try to look outside the box. We definitely do not have as many as automated tests as University of Chicago does. We would like to get there someday, but like you said, we've taken a different route. I think one of the things I'd like to also mention is kind of the evolution of how we've done this. Chelsea was the initial person who learned Eggplant, but then we quickly went to a BA, another person on my team who kind of picked it up because I wanted to see, does it need to be a developer? What skills do you need to be able to pick it up? And she was able to quickly get it in and pick it up. And then, quite honestly, Mkami came from an intern program that we work with. And it was a good opportunity for us to bring her in and say, okay, we know you've got a little bit of a development background here. Let's see, for your basic first job in IT, can you pick up the skills by going through the training? And she has done an excellent job. And she is now our lead Eggplant developer. So, like I said, one of the things that I think is key is that, the skills required to kind of pick up Eggplant is not, those deep developer skills, but they are helpful. And so that's another thing that I really liked about the tool.
Mkami, just on, I know you've been hands-on with it for a while, but do you want to talk about those early days where you had some scripts maybe that we had developed or that Chelsea had developed, and you started to make them your own? What guidance would you have for other folks who are maybe, nervous about starting into test automation and looking at the scripting and what you learned as you made some of those scripts your own?
Yeah, I think the big thing is having you being available to help us whenever we had questions or we run into a roadblock. If your help, the Eggplant documentation page is very helpful. They pretty much have everything there that you need to know if you're running into a roadblock to figure out what you need to do.
I think you're being a little modest, Mkami. I've seen some of the scripts that you've done, and I think for me, what I saw you do was just been able to step through the scripts and play the scripts. that you're really, stepping through it as if a user would. Was that easier for you versus another language that you had to learn?
Yeah, I found Eggplant, the SenseTalk language, actually pretty easy to learn, especially since our test is mostly, like you said, going through the steps of like what exactly the user would do. So that made scripting of that really easy as well.
Right. Hasnain, I know at the University of Chicago, we did something a little different, right? So we came in, MCANTA came in as an organization and provided the automation engineers to kind of get you over that initial hump. But then we ran a 10-session training program to expand that use. Do you want to share kind of some of the feedback that you've heard from that?
Initially, there was a little bit of like, oh, how will I do it? It's you have involved coding and all. But I think as the sessions progressed, everyone was so much into it. It's just because the ease of use, how you Eggplant once. I think the first step is the one where you have to accept it that yes. And then once you get into it, it just gets very easy. It's such an easy tool to use. I think the general feedback which came in mostly across the board, how it was that, yeah, this is a great experience to learn. And the organization, we started off, I think we had Juliet and Julie, two of our initial testers, but now it's just spreading across. And not just that, I think it gave in so much awareness of automation. And it's not a very complex rocket science. Right. It's just with Eggplant, it's so easy. So that awareness I felt that was the key thing, that how people realize that, oh yeah, this is what we can do our job so fast. So yeah, it's very positive feedback.
So Chelsea, I know I saw your head nodding there as Hasnain was talking. Can you want to share some of your experiences as you started in automating these tests with Eggplant?
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Hasnain said. The ease of picking up the tool was definitely great. Certainly, developer skills, I would agree, were not needed, but did help me jump in all the quicker and be able to start developing tests ourselves. So
I think one of the things, if I remember, we worked on a lot was we started to get very aware of what the application was doing. There's a couple of splash screens that showed up that you just tend to look over when you're using it every day, but then when you're having to automate it, I think it forces folks to slow down. Would you think that's true, or any other nuances that you could share?
Absolutely. No, that's a great call out for our. I think the initial test that you helped us build, Patrick, was with our Abe CRM, and we kind of had to relearn that several of the sections reload after something is selected. You might see a different loading bar in different parts of the screen, and a lot of that, like you said, you kind of don't think about as you're a regular user of the system. So bringing that awareness was definitely a learned experience there.
Great, thanks. So we talked a lot about actually implementing the automation testing. Wanted to move forward to actually using the data and what I know both of you have done in terms of the reporting elements out of it. And Hasnain, I know we worked extensively with you on the reporting structure itself, and just wanted to get your kind of thoughts on that as you saw kind of some of the early reports and how we morphed that over time, and what you think was critical, because I think you had some really good points on reporting that would be helpful for our audience here.
Sure. So when we started off, we were having like I said, like nearly 400 reports, and there is a way you can see what had run past day with those red dots and green dots in Eggplant and all. But at one level, you want to see just the structure of the report. These are my 6 tests. How did they run? Which failed? Like some bar chart, column graph, pie chart, something just easier viewable. Like you can easily view them. That what happened past days, past 5 days. Aggregate of all that. So that one was a bit missing. and we worked on it. And then your team, Patrick, you helped us using those APIs and building it out that for us. And then recently, it's now getting implemented in Eggplant, I think.
Yeah, very excited for that.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that too. So now that will be just part of it. Eggplant experience all, and I think that adds so much value. So if there is a project manager or program manager, and if they just want to view that what's going on, they will not log into Eggplant and see. They can just get a view of that, and that just helps so much at the executive level also at what's going on. So the journey which started off from just viewing on the green and red bulbs, and then getting to API, and then finally getting a proper page, I think is very exciting. The best part is it has happened so soon. So I really think that's just great.
Yeah, I think that brings up one of the things from the implementation side that we learned was, trying to get to that format. It took us a little bit of time, but once we agreed on a high level wireframe of what that report was, what was great from our end is we're able to pull into the APIs and actually extract the data out of the tooling to produce that report. And I loved the structure that we finalized on, which was for each area, we had a bar chart, and we could see area by area passes and fails at a glance for the last test run. So it really gave us, we had total tests that we were implementing, and then we could see a breakdown by area. So we could see that as an area was maybe getting some new configurations if some of those tests had failed, that we could really focus on that area for future improvement.
That's correct.
Yeah, to get that feedback back to the development team, because we were a separate organization. And thanks for your help on that. I know we did a lot of work on that together. And Chelsea, I know you also did a lot of work pulling data out of the APIs. Do you want to share a little bit about your experience on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Craig spoke to this a bit earlier, but we definitely utilized the API capabilities when we were working on migrating to AWS. Patrick, with your help, was able to put together our own report that would, I think the way that we used it mostly was to be able to compare a number of system runs over a date range, could see general data about the test pass-fail status, when it ran, etc., and then a breakout of step-by-step how long each action took, and then to be able to easily compare running that same test against AWS was very valuable.
Yeah. And just I think Chelsea, for memory is right here, you used Eggplant to actually query the APIs of Eggplant, right, to generate an Excel spreadsheet, which was a great way to do it. So again, it wasn't just front-end testing that you were able to test, you were actually able to do API testing too.
Right. No, exactly. Yep. We built a script right within Eggplant to build that report out. Yeah, that was great.
That was pretty cutting edge stuff. And then Hasnain, I know for you, we actually did something a little different. We actually used an external tool to query the data because we needed to be able to do some more, I'll call them data visualization elements. So we actually used a third-party tool to query the APIs to actually build the reports. And I think we got it fairly close to what we...
it was just, it was exactly like how we envisioned it initially. Yeah. Wireframes and also, yeah.
Yeah, so it was great to be able to query that. Just before we move on from like what it was like implementing it and where it was and moving on to how it shifted to the culture of the organization, any last thoughts that you'd have for folks who are, throw it out to everybody, think about an organization who's joining us today, who is either, daunted by the task of automation, or they're just how to, where should you start and how to get going, what they should consider moving forward as they adopt automation for their testing. Throw it out to anybody.
Well, I think as Hasnain said, the same thing that I did with the way people are adopting cloud applications and the number of cycles of patches that are coming out, there's no way that, you know, you can keep up with manual testing to keep your applications integrity in place. So I think looking at automation is something that you know, every company is going to have to do who's kind of moving and involving their applications in that way. So I think the other thing that I'd just like to say that I thought that, you know, what has been good about Eggplant is that it has been evolving. So like you said, we, I think, started with 5.0 and, you know, there were some growing pains there. But over time, we've made suggestions and you make suggestions and we've seen kind of, you know, improvements in the application. And yes, the reporting component of it, we're really looking very much forward to getting more about that. So
great. Hasnain, Chelsea, Mkami, any other additions or things you want to share with folks?
I do want to echo the same thing which Greg just said. It's very important that if we buy into a software and we give our feedback and the company implement that feedback into it, it makes the customer feels very much heard that, oh, this was my pain using this software. And like for reporting, that's a great example. We had initial issues and hiccups, but then the quick turnaround time, how it came up and everything got resolved. We had a workaround for a brief while. I think that matters a lot. It just matters a lot. So that was a great thing about it, how MCANTA and Eggplant and Keysight, they all help here.
Great, thanks for that. All right. So on our end, I think, you know, for a lot of organizations, we're a big believer in, you know, I heard it from Chelsea and Mkami and just the ability to start and to see it. And we are big fans of proofs of value because there's a lot of skepticism just from historical automation tools. Cannot really test any application. And I think as an implementation partner and a solution partner for Eggplant, what I've loved is that we haven't found an application that we haven't been able to automate those end user tests for. And it's been really exceptional to be able to add that value quickly. So we always talk about quick and additive value into an organization. It's been really good for an organization to see that they want to automate and then to really quickly show that automation in practice against their own application has a really powerful effect on the team. So as they can start to see the possibilities that they can achieve with automation. So kind of moving on as we go on to how have you seen just kind of the culture shift or kind of just that, you know, that like, oh, you can do that now. You know, what are some of the changes that you've seen in your organizations as you've started to automate? Hasnain, maybe we'll start with you.
The first thing, as with the success of Phoenix Salesforce automation, one of the biggest projects right now happening in University of Chicago is Oracle ERP implementation, Oracle Cloud implementation. And this Oracle Cloud implementation, they do quarterly updates and they just give 2 weeks. Take it or it will be forced in. You have to take that patch. And knowing that we can build scripts which can help us get through those 2 weeks and test everything out, that is a huge plus in organization. I mean, you know, we have been talking about this, how to plan for it, what data aspects to look for it. So that project has so much visibility, and now Eggplant is fitting into it, automation is fitting into it. The training which we had, it just did not have developers and all. Leads joined in it. We have business analysts participating in it. A couple of PMs also participated in that. So that awareness just grew by leaps once the Salesforce project, the benefit was realized, the effort saved, which was saved. So it has grew to a very scale of automation. I would want to take it in a year or two to where we'll have a CI/CD pipelines, where we complete true automation with Jenkins is done. We have Jira.
Yep.
I want to integrate it with it. but that's still a little far ways to go. For now, to the awareness of just having a tool which can automate, help save effort, cost, and everything. I think that just is proved. It's proved. 3 months, 400 scripts,
Right.
40 testers, 2 hours to test now. It's just amazing. So I think, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Craig. Can we talk about what you've seen in the foundation, Wisconsin, and just how you're thinking about this for the future?
So I think the term eggplant is kind of being adopted by other teams. Like I know our technical team was worried, like, okay, when you're running these tests, where are the passwords? Are they in the clear? How is that done? Well, what you helped us with is, it's the same script each time. You go into our password safe, you pull out the credentials from an encrypted area, you feed that into the test, you run the test, and and everything is secure. And that is, I think our tech team was very impressed with that we could write a test that would do that when we introduced single sign-on and other types of multi-factor authentication. Eggplant was able to handle all that, and that impressed me. I think some of our other business users, one of the things we wanted to do is, and the nice kind of, we put in some good standard procedures, like, and kind of coming from you go in, you run a test, and then you clean up after yourself. So we wanted to, for our Oracle financials, we wanted to go in and add a fund, and they're saying, well, wait a second, you can't add a fund. That's not even a business process. I said, well, we want to test the functionality of adding a fund, and then we want to clean up after ourselves. So, and we only do this in our non-production environment, but it gives us a way. We said the reason why we want to do this is so we can test upgrades when we come out, and adding a fund is one of our key functions that we do. We want to make sure that breaks and that doesn't break. And so they quickly understood, oh, you've got this tool, you want to leave it exactly how the application, how you went into it. And it totally made sense to them. So, business users, our technical teams, other teams are starting to understand Eggplant, and they are starting to come up with ideas on how we might use Eggplant and see that, we've, like we talked about, we've used it across from our client server app to our proprietary apps to our .NET website, and now to our new NetSuite and Salesforce cloud apps. So it's pretty nice that it works across all those different technologies.
A couple of things that you just reminded me of there is, I think there's a vision for the long term. And for me as a solution provider, as an implementer, what I've enjoyed has been able to trust that Keysight is moving forward with the integrations, right? So if it's integrating into Jenkins or pipelines or Azure DevOps or Jira testing, that I spend more time actually writing tests than working on the automation engine to connect to all of these different parts of the pipeline. So the fact that we can rely on Keysight means that we're just spending more time, writing those 330 test cases versus managing the testing infrastructure, which I think is critical when you're trying to show value within your organization, and just a huge part of buying a solution that can test across multiple applications, and also become part of your testware that forms a huge component of the process. And Craig, you mentioned password vaults, how you're going to securely manage those environments, where are you going to store your test reports. Hasnain, I know one of the things I see we're going to be working on in the future is how are we going to merge our automated test results and our manual test results, because we're never going to be able to, at least with some of the business processes that we've talked about, not every test is going to be able to be automated, right? We are going to have this reserve of manual tests, but we recognize that's not a barrier. Really what it's doing is we're freeing up time to get to those manual tests because we've automated so much. So I think those are just a couple of areas that I heard that as you were kind of sharing what happened at your organizations that I just pulled together and remembered from our implementations. So a lot of great information there. Thank you so much for sharing, Mkami, Chelsea. Hasnain and Craig, really good to hear how you've been able to adopt automation in your organizations and what it's been like for you. I'll throw this out to both Craig and Hasnain. You want to talk about the future? I know we've touched on it a little bit, but where do you see your automation plans going in the future, and how what are some of the things you're going to be working on in the coming year?
So I get a little jealous hearing of the 300 tests that Hasnain has. So obviously we don't have that many. We're currently shutting down some of our legacy tests. So our plans are to definitely create more Eggplant and Salesforce tests and get some more reporting involved, and continue potentially maybe to grow another Eggplant developer along with Mkami. So that's kind of where we are, is just expanding our use of it, and we are bringing on a release manager because it's kind of a new term for us to kind of have a release manager. In the past was always kind of more of a group kind of effort amongst the different development teams. Well, now with cloud applications and the number of third-party upgrades and the management of all of the releases that you need to do, we're bringing on a release manager. So I'm looking forward to working with that person and kind of getting their thoughts on automated and testing. That has been part of our interview process, is asking them what they know about automated testing, what their experience is. So just continue to evolve our use of automated tests. And Mkami and Chelsea, I don't know, I know you guys have some ideas. I'd love to hear what you guys think the future lies for us.
Yeah, Mkami, I'll put you on the spot and just say, I know you've got some planned uses listed out. Where you've got a couple of months here before the end of the year that you want to focus on?
So for the future here, I believe our goals for the future here would be to validate updates with Salesforce, and then validate version updates with NetSuite, and create tests for BVDL imports.
Mm-hmm. Great. Chelsea, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so I've stepped away really from developing and just kind of acting as a mentor to Mkami as she's taken away, doing great work as we do onboard these new applications. And so I can say specifically right now, she's working on a test that will be able to quickly provide validation that some of our custom validation rules are in place. Mm-hmm. And it goes through quite a lot of steps in the system. So I think as one specific example, that is something we're working on right now. It's really neat to see the possibilities of what we'll be able to validate after, as we've been speaking to these regular upgrades and refreshes.
And here, Mkami it reminded me, actually, you've been really good also about cleaning up your scripts, so retiring older scripts that you haven't needed. So I just wanted to give, that's another important part of automating, is you're always giving the system care and feeding to make sure it's actually doing what you need it to do. So I just wanted to give you kind of just some kudos for continuing to manage the environment. And Hasnain, I know we talked a little bit about what you're going to do with. We've wrapped up the Phoenix project, which was a Salesforce implementation, and I know you've got a big financial implementation coming up here.
Yeah, so this is a very large project, multiple modules: Oracle, ERP, Finance, SCM, HCM, everything is there, and we want to get to a stable build because right now update changes coming into all environments and they update all of them together. So, but we want to get to a point where we have a stable build to start automation. Mm-hmm. We don't want to start it right now. just because if something changes, there is a lot of rework required to do the scripting all over again. But that is one of the biggest. We have around 1,300 scripts right now already. I'm sure that there is never 100% automation.
Right.
There is always room for manual testing. But as much as we can for the critical ones, and we follow the same spreadsheet of points that is it critical, mostly used, all those, and then select a subset or a large subset of script to get to a point where we can comfortably go into any Oracle release and be comfortable that yes, nothing will break or something will break. We'll get to know before, and we can create an Oracle SR or fix our own thing. And yeah, so that's the goal for next year and a half or so.
Yeah, and I know that with both of you, we are exploring implementing pipelines like we've done for some of our other customers. So it can be part of the build process, or it can be kicked off independently, but through a pipeline manager, and then also getting those reporting back into to your test case management tool, so as you can merge in both the automated tests and the manual tests, and get that that quality assurance score, that confidence that the is ready to release. So for both of your organizations, I'm very excited to see that come to fruition over the coming months. So that's it. That's really been the journey that we've heard today from both the University of Chicago and the University of Wisconsin Foundation. Just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. Look forward to hearing any questions that you have about their journey, how they got started. Our contact information is part of this webinar, and we're really here to support you on your implementation journey as you realize the benefits that automation can bring to your organization. Thank you.